Hey there, I'm Nicholas Dubois, co-founder of Advanced SimRacing. We are a Canadian company. So what we did here today is for a real petrol head. He's really passionate about cars, as you can see behind me. We did a turnkey solution for him based on his needs. We try to gather as much information as we can on our client. And like we did today, we install a D-box system. We install ultra-wide cube control steering wheel. We try to provide the best quality for your budget. So let's say if you want a budget of 10 grand, we're gonna give you something that's the best for 10 grand. If you want 20 grand, then we always try to stay within your boundaries. We do try to make it as easy as possible. So the client, once we install everything, it's pretty much gonna be a turnkey. So he's gonna press start on his computer, and right after, we'll try to explain everything, how it goes, how it works, and then he's ready to go. Our aluminum is from USA, treated in Canada, cut in Canada. So we do sand all our aluminum piece just to make sure the powder coat sticks to it. And that's one of the reasons why we use powder coat, is to make sure you have the best aluminum finish in the industry. And our quality is beyond what you can get with any other competitors right now. We are really, really passionate about all the gear, all the cockpits, all the sim hardware, and that's why we want to create something that's really going to reflect our passion into our product. Come visit us at advancedsimracing.com. You can always reach us if you have any questions. You can call us, you can text us, you can go on Facebook, like our page, ask us questions over there, and we'll make sure to answer every questions there is. We are very passionate about what we do, and we try to make it as easier for you to go into the sim racing world, because there's a lot of gear, there's a lot of options, but let us guide you through your process, and let's hope you'll be an Advanced Sim Racing customer.
It is time to crown some champions. So what kind of GT racing do you like? High-speed traces at fast flowy circuits, or chaotic crapshoots at tracks with tight chicanes and concrete walls? Well, we've got both in store for you tonight. Hello everyone, and welcome to GSRC's live coverage of round 10 of a Premier Racing League GT Series. Hi everyone, I'm Samuel Ryman, and alongside me in the booth is DJ Clark. Behind the scenes is our director Sean Ambrose, and he's using camera sets provided by Dougie Beard. So we have two races in store for you tonight, both of which are season finales. The first up is the GT4 Amateur Series, which will be racing down under here at Phillip Island. This is a faster and more flowy of the two tracks that we will visit tonight, but that doesn't mean it's without peril. Let's give you a closer look at the Phillip Island circuit with our GSRC lap guide.
Welcome to Phillip Island. As the name implies, this track is located on a splotch of land off the south coast of Australia near Melbourne. While there's been plenty of racing here for close to a century, the track's current incarnation has only been around since the late 80s. And this version is a doozy. With only 12 turns spread across the roughly 4.5 kilometers, it's a decently fast circuit. But what really makes this place stand apart is the incredible variety in those few corners. From negative to positive camber, early apexes, late apexes, blind crest, hairpins, sweepers, if you name it, it's probably got it. On top of that, the front stretch tends to offer up a slipstream with its incredible length, but it then forces the drivers into a game of chicken by chucking them into the frightening Buin. Corners like Lukey Heights stretches a car's grip to the limit and then shocks you with a sudden downhill braking into MG. Retaining something of an old-school twist, unlike most modern courses, Phillip Island has earth and embankments running along many parts of the track. While it's meant to keep the cars safely retained within the circuit's confines, anyone unfortunate enough to manage to jump them will be faced with a ton of damage for their troubles. A variety of types of racing take place at the track, including motorcycles, lower-level open-wheelers, and touring cars. Possibly the most well-known among those is the Australian Supercars Championship. With the Aussie reputation of having dangerous, difficult, and challenging circuits, Phillip Island certainly holds up to the standard. The beautiful views of the beach and the ocean may lure some of the fans in, but there's no doubt that the incredible racing at this unique track keeps them around.
Well, that's what this track is like, and there's a nice aerial shot of it with one of our cameras from Dougie Beard. And DJ, why don't you tell us a little bit more about this first circuit of two that we'll be racing at tonight?
Well, Sam, this is sort of the definition of an old school circuit. As you said, there's a lot of flowing corners that these GT4s are going to try to find a little bit difficult, I think, with the weight that they're going to be carrying along here. It's not like when we've seen some open wheelers run where they're going to be able to go flat out through Dewan and down into the southern loop. There's going to have to be a little bit of brush braking, a little bit of lifting to get it right. Watch for some particularly tricky areas as they cross up over through Hayshed and Lukey Heights, the highest point of the track, especially with the high winds that we're seeing, but we'll get into that later. In terms of overtaking opportunities, well, there are 3 areas that you can really get a good pass done here. First one is maybe getting a good tow down the Gardner Straight and into the southern loop, although we've seen these GT4s not be able to take full advantage of the draft in the past. You can also get a good run down into that tight right-handed hairpin of Honda, and if you're very, very brave on the brakes, you may be able to even get a pass down into the downhill right-handed hairpin of MG. But one way or the other, anytime cars come to Phillip Island, it is always a good scene.
Absolutely, and this broadcast is made possible thanks to the help with a few of our friends. First up, we have ASR, which is owned and operated by passionate sim racers. Advanced Sim Racing designs and builds the sturdiest and most durable aluminum profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. Visit them at advancedsimracing.com.
It's also sponsored by RaceLab. RaceLab helps you to improve your driving skills. With modern overlays, race statistics, and native VR integration, you can get the best out of iRacing. Start using it for free today at racelab.app.
Today's broadcast is also proudly sponsored by ButtKicker. ButtKicker products add an incredible immersion and realism to any game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat. Check them out at thebutkicker.com.
Today's event is also brought to you by SimMSA. Simulation Motorsports Affinity provides many consulting services, from completely customizing simulators to managing teams, individual drivers, and complete events. They're working hard to bring everyone together at one place to support and promote sim racing internationally. Find out how you can bridge the gap between virtual and real motorsports at SIMMSA.net.
And finally, the PRL GT Series is also brought to you by NinjaTrader. Ready to compete against the financial markets? Supporting over 60,000 users across the globe, NinjaTrader provides award-winning trading software and brokerage services. NinjaTrader is always free to use for advanced charting, backtesting, and trade simulation. Visit ninjatrader.com to get started with a risk-free trading simulator and start tracking your performance. Well, as we mentioned, it is the season finale, so we've got a few championships to keep an eye on, notably driver and team stand-ins in both races, both series we're seeing. Here's the driver stand-ins for the AM Championship, and you can see this is pretty much all done and dusted here. Campbell has won 7 of the 9 races so far this season, and that's gave him a 66-point lead over Michael Michaud. But after Michaud, it's a bit close. He's in a nice little battle with Kyle Robertson for 2nd place, and Charles Sumner and Kevin Berquist are in a battle for 4th. And we also have the team championship for the AM series here, DJ.
We do indeed, and it's a little bit closer at the top. There are only 9 points separating PRL Director Team and GT Moore. That's a battle we've been seeing raging this entire season long. Now, Whataback Racing, they are in a league of their own, back in 3rd, but only a 10-point difference between Parabola Racing and Piltdown's Punks, so definitely a battle for 3rd and 4th still raging out here in this last race of the season.
So here we get to qualifying, and we'll bring up the race details for you as these GT4 cars are going around the track. As we mentioned, this is the final round, round 10 of 10 of the season. There's 4 different GT4 cars, and they all understeer. Porsche, BMW, and McLaren. We got a 40-minute race here with open setups, and don't run off too many times, or else those incident points will accumulate, and that could give you some penalty points. Alternatively, there's ways to get bonus points too. Now you can see all the cars are out there on track together. They're having to navigate each other's traffic. Nice news, DJ, is it's a fairly open circuit. I mean, there's only a field of 16 cars, and they've got 10 minutes. I'm pretty sure everyone should be able to find some clear track of their own and put in a competitive lap time or two.
Yeah, they certainly should be, Sam. And running around here, that is going to be pretty crucial. You don't want anybody to slow you down and have to lift off of those brakes. Keep our eye here on the provisional pole sitter. This is Kyle Robertson. Kyle has been one of those that is always seemingly to be the bridesmaid this season as he wakes his way up over Lukey Heights. Now, this is an area that I talked about. We've got a very, very high wind here today. It's gusting between about 18 and 19 miles per hour. And Lukey Heights, that is the highest point of the track, so that's where these cars are going to suffer the most of that crosswind. So they're going to have to be careful about that as we see Jerome Berthum setting this fastest time.
Yeah, over a whole second over the rest of the field right there as the lap times continue to drop on 1:35.7. We did see lap times as low as a 1:35.2, I believe, was our closest practice time. And now you see Kyle Robertson has brought it down to a 1:35.1. So the lap times continuing to drop despite the strong wind that we have, as you mentioned, at the top of the hill there. And there you get an idea. So the wind pointing in the northwest direction. Oh, sorry, coming from a northwest direction. This is why I'm not a meteorologist.
Well, that makes 2 of us as we see here some drivers starting to get over that line. Calhoun coming in and be able to lock that time. Berquist going up to 6th fastest on the charts in his McLaren. Hopefully they do a little bit better as that's a slow lap there for Charles Sumner.
Yeah, that 1:35.1 by Kyle Robertson so far proving very hard to beat. I know we're only halfway through the qualifying session, so we'll see some other lap times, but right now he's sitting quite comfortable. Still 3 drivers you can see who haven't turned a competitive lap at all during qualifying yet. Robbie Campbell, Adam McDonald, and Baron Hilton.
Yeah, and it looks like they've just been not exactly able to get everything that they want to get set down yet. Spencer Semkowicz able to go a little bit faster, but I don't think that's going to move him up the charts at all. Patrick Cowgill not able to go any faster. No, excuse me, he was able to go faster. That'll bump him up to 6th place. Here comes Peter Newhook. That's a good time for Newhook, and that'll bump him up to 3rd place.
In here in qualifying, you're getting a good view of all the different cars here. Again, we got Porsches, McLarens, and BMWs. McLaren here on screen of Richard Swindale's. You can see the European sports car kind of design. Here's the BMW, the very muscle car almost kind of look it has to it, as Johnny Luna comes across the time and moves up into 11th place. And then, of course, we also have a Porsche out there, which looks like a Porsche. I should suspect most of our fans know what those look like, but just in case, here's one on screen right now. Almost looks like if it went upside down, it would roll back on its wheels.
Exactly, the designs of those Porsche not really changing that much over time, if we're honest. Here comes Jerome Berthum. Now, he was pimped to the pole by Kyle Robertson, so he's going to hope to do a little bit better as he makes his way out of turn 12. It's a very crucial corner in any car. You want to maximize the speed, let the momentum carry out. It's almost like driving an oval. Minimize any wheel scrub that you get coming out of the corner. Not fast there for Berthum, but he'll have another about 3 minutes to get another fast one in.
Yeah, Baron Hilton's best lap so far has been a 1:44. He's about to come over across the line and should turn a more competitive lap time, I would imagine. Yeah, 137.2, only gains him a couple positions for now. All right, you can see the clock starting to tick down. Drivers want to make sure they're on track right now if they want to get another competitive lap or two in before the checkered flies. If they do have to come into the pits to get back out on track, I'm pretty sure they're having to use the entire access road. Every now and then in some official series, you'll see some people kind of use the shortcut coming out of a pits. We see Johnny Luna as he crosses the line right here, right at the top of a crest here. There is a way to kind of pull out on the racetrack, but in these league events, I don't really like you doing that because that can cause some trouble.
Yeah, it's very much a pit lane that'll dump you right onto the racing line. Here comes Charles Sumner. He's about 0.2 off his fastest time, but this is one of the better qualifyings we've seen out of the normal oval driver, so kudos here to Charles. It's a really, really good run for him, and that'll be crucial. He is driving for that PRL director team, and so if he is able to hold on to that position with both him and Berthum in the top 5, that may be enough to be able to hold on to that team's championship.
Yeah, we were talking about the battle for second and the battle for fourth in the championship. I do not see Michaud here, so that's going to give Kyle Robertson, our provisional pole sitter, a massive boon in that fight for second in standings. And then, as we mentioned, Sumner is battling Bergqvist for fourth and fifth in the championship, and the fact that Sumner's qualified a respectable sixth place here has since in his favour, whereas Bergqvist will be starting right behind him in seventh. So that'll be interesting to see how that unfolds.
It will indeed, and remember that this final round cannot be used as a drop round. So for Michaud, that is going to be absolutely brutal for him. Speaking of Kevin Bergqvist, we're watching him as he makes his way out of that final corner. Let's see if he's able to move his way up the charts a little bit. He's going to cross the line. About 0.3 off. He'll have one more crack at the apple if he wants it. Let's see if Sumner can go any faster. He's going to cross over the line and improve by about 0.3 of a second. That's going to jump Sumner up to third.
A very nice qualifying effort by Sumner. So now, as we mentioned, he was just ahead of his championship rival for fourth in the standings. It was Sumner sixth and Bergqvist seventh. It's now Sumner third and Bergqvist seventh. And the checkered flag is about to fly. We have a couple of cars coming out the final turn, so it'll be interesting to see if they make it to the line in time.
Looks like one of those is going to be Jerome Berthum, so he'll get one more shot. I think 12th place Baron Hilton may just have crossed over the line in time, but one way or another, the checkered flag is out. And it looks like your provisional pole sitter, Kyle Robertson, pulling on into the pits. Next up is going to be Peter Newhook, who also decides to go into the pits.
You think Glenn Vanko was our first driver to take a checkered flag, still starts sixth. Bradley Holly across the line here is in ninth place, and now he is in ninth place. Gained a few tenths though.
Yes, he did. Here comes Adam McDonald. McDonald able to improve there, but not able to bump up the standings at all. A lot of drivers, including Johnny Luna, choosing to abandon their lap. Here comes Sumner, making his way out of turn 11. That's a really tricky corner. You've got to get the throttle down just right, but Sumner's also going to pull off. Is Bergqvist going to do the same? Yes, he is. So that leaves, I believe, Jerome Berthum out there and maybe Baron Hilton, depending on if he crossed the line in time.
Yeah, and they're both working their way through the final complex of turns right now. They're both racing in BMWs. So here is Jerome, currently second on the grid. Is he going to make a left turn into the pits? Yes, he is. That leaves us with one man left standing, Baron Hilton. He's in 12th place, and he is going for it, staying on track here. Let's see if he can move this number 47 McLaren up the grid. By the way, we haven't really talked about pit entry a whole lot yet. It is a little bit tricky in this car, but Baron's not worried about that right now. He's worried about his lap time, and unfortunately, it's not a lap time that's going to move him up anywhere. So that's going to wrap up qualifying here. We'll give you a full grid rundown in just a few moments, but we can tell you it's Kyle Robertson starting on pole position, and again, DJ, he has half a second over the field.
Yeah, that's a really impressive run, and it shows you just how confident he is around Phillip Island. This is a track that you really have to commit to these corners. If you're able to dive in deep on the southern loop, keep relatively flat out coming up through Hayshed and Lukey Heights, it will pay massive dividends. So Robertson very much looking like he's got it hooked up here.
And Robbie Campbell did not turn a lap in qualifying, and he ran the 35.0 in practice, so I think he just wants to have a little bit of fun today. He'll be starting from dead last on the grid. All right, let's give you a full grid rundown here with Kyle Robertson, who will be starting on pole position by over half a second to Jerome Berthiaume. Charles Sumner will be starting from third place in that orange and green Tropicana machine ahead of Peter Newhook. Richard Swindales will be starting from fifth place ahead of Glenn Anko, and then Kevin Berquist will be trying to work his way up from seventh on the grid. David Calhoun rounds out row number 4 in 8th place ahead of Bradley Holly and Patrick Cowgill.
Starting off in 11th is going to be Michael Pavolano, followed by Baron Hilton, with Johnny Luna and Spencer Semkowicz making out row 7 behind him. Adam McDonald was the last driver to set a time, and as you said, Robbie Campbell, your championship winner for this year, did not set a time. He's looking to just slice his way up through the field.
Well, I have plenty of time to do it and plenty of passing opportunities. Overtaking is definitely not impossible around here, especially down the front straight where you get a really nice tow. So there are the 16 cars, or 17 if you want to include the pace car. Why not? It's a Porsche. And 2 of them have onboard cameras for us here today, and they are both lined up on the 5th row of the grid, and that is Bradley Holly in the number 184. Will be starting from 9th position. And also Patrick Cowgill in the number 31 car will be starting alongside him in 10th place, and they'll be carrying some onboard cameras for us, as of course will the rest of the virtual field if we need them. And here we are. Here is Patrick Cowgill rolling off. For one pace lap here at the Phillip Island circuit. And now we ride on board Holly. And very patriotic t-shirt there. You know, not necessarily Australian patriotic, but...
Well, Sam, that is his lucky shirt, and as we learned last time out in the NASCAR series, his driver's suit actually does match that. So always good to see Bradley in uniform and ready to battle here, just throwing in some right turns, which is not exactly what we're used to seeing him do all the time.
Speaking of the fact that this is Australia, there's actually a different audio track in the background for the Nat Sound for the Australian circuits than there is for every other circuit on the sim. It's basically you're hearing some kookaburras, I think, in the background there. It's almost like rainforest-like. It's very entertaining to listen to, actually, when you're just sitting on the grid.
Well, there you go. iRacing always making sure to provide as accurate as things as possible. And there you can see one of the things that I do absolutely love about this track in real life and on the sim, just the proximity to the ocean right there. Amazing views from all over this circuit here, especially as they make that run down into Siberia and up the hill. You can see the ocean spanning out before you. It is a beautiful scenic view, and it is a beautiful racing circuit. One of my personal favorite on the sim.
Yeah, it definitely has a lot of flow to it, which is something the next circuit we go to in about an hour's time cannot say, the Charlotte Roval, where we'll watch the pro drivers race. So here we go, up the hill to the crest in this long left-hander at Lukey Heights, and then once you pass the crest, it is a massive drop down the hill, smash the seagull out the way with your helmet, and into a sharp right-hand at the bottom of the hill. And if you get this right, you can get a nice run on your competitors as you enter the front straight and try and make a move down. Oh, a big track-up going on at the back there as they navigate their way through the ace lap.
Yeah, that was Jerome Berthiaume coming off the track, but we're ready to go green.
Yeah, still, they haven't really grouped themselves back up here. But they're going to go racing. Here we go. Kyle Robertson leading them to the green flag, and he has gotten a nice 5-car length advantage over the rest of the field. So the battle will be on for second place as they head the braking zone into the first corner. And Kyle's got the whole track to himself. But here we go now into turn 2. This can get tricky sometimes. It's very easy to lose the back of a car here.
It is, and speaking of that, that's Jerome Berthum right off, plowing into, I believe that's Bergquist. Both cars off into the southern loop.
Yeah, Jerome Berthum tows quickly, but now they get into the corner that's normally a trouble zone on the opening lap. This hairpin here, the top 4 have themselves sorted out, but 5th on back still racing side by side. So they're going to try and work their way through the hairpin and still running side by side as they enter the second hairpin here, Siberia. Eventually they'll have to get single file though as they go down this windy back straight.
Yeah, and in the background, that was Holly and Vanko going at it tooth and nail side by side through those areas with Bradley Holly coming out on top. He's able to keep that car ahead for now. The leader's spacing out a little bit, but a lot of good action in the back. Here's that plunging downhill section that we talked about. Brakes are going to be a little bit cold. See if anybody has a lockup in an accident coming down into MG.
So far, so good. So the big mover really here, up into 5th place from 9th on the grid is Bradley Holly. But look at Charles Sumner. This is obviously, he's doing great now in his battle for 4th in the championship. Now that Bergquist is pretty much out of contention at the end of the first lap. And now Sumner is thinking about trying to take 2nd place as they head off into the first corner. He's not going to make a move, but he's definitely well positioned in case the car in front of him makes a mistake.
Indeed, and as we've talked about, we've got another one off in the back. That's Johnny Luna spinning off as I believe Robbie Campbell, your championship winner for this race, has had an accident as well. Let's check out that replay.
Yeah, so Robbie Campbell trying to work his way up through the field, and he's completely blown the first corner and lost a lot of time, just like Johnny Luna here. So unfortunately we're having a bit of technical difficulties. We won't be able to pull up that replay, but they both continue. But honestly, Luna has not lost as much time as Campbell. Campbell really lost a bunch of time in his number 93 car.
Yeah, it looked like when it happened that Luna was able to sort of have the off track of the exit of Doohan, and that's what got him able to get back on the track relatively easily. Campbell, on the other hand, I think completely overshot the braking zone, and it went way, way off wide, and that's what's really allowed for now what looks like a 7-second gap. Oh, and that's Baron Hilton off.
Off into the gravel and the grass. He's regained control of the car though. There's some cars that you cannot regain control of the car if you get off in the grass, but fortunately Hilton was able to do so. We got another spinner there going into the final corner. It's Calhoun.
Yeah, it is indeed. A lot of these drivers just suffering problems around here. Track temperature is only 71 degrees. I've got to think tire temperatures coming into that. But let's watch Calhoun here. Just a little bit too much throttle, a little bit too much speed coming through turn 11. I talked about how precise you have to be getting onto the loud pedal coming out of there, Sam, and that is exactly what caught out David Calhoun.
What called out Peter Newhook was a connection trouble, unfortunately. So Newhook is no longer part of this race, so quite a bit more attrition than I anticipated early on.
Indeed, but we've had a pass for second place. Sumner has gotten by Richard Swindell, so that's good for him. We continue to watch here this battle with Pavolano. And one of the things that I want to point out that I think led to some of the confusion and a little bit of the accidents at the start, because of that off for Jerome Berthum and him being farther back in the order, drivers that passed him were actually given a penalty for passing before the green flag. And so that caused a little bit of confusion, and I think that may have led to some of the accidents that we saw between Berthum and Newhook as those penalties were trying to be cleared by race control.
Sumner currently holding second position, but you can see he's got a little bit of a train of cars behind him as they work their way out onto the front straight here. 4 seconds now, the gap that Kyle Robertson has over them as they come around to complete lap 3. This is a timed race, but there you go, 3 laps in the books as Kyle Robertson sets the fastest lap.
He does, but we watch here as this is Bradley Holly trying to make a move on the outside of Richard Swindell's, really trying to hold it out there through Dewan Corner. He's going to have the preferred line going into Southern Heights. That's going to push Swindell's off the line, and now Glenn Vanko, remember we saw that battle in the first lap between Holly and Vanko. Vanko now, as we ride on board with him, starting to take a look at Swindell's.
And Vanko could try and make a move down the inside here, but he wouldn't be able to clear both cars. It's very easy to have get your brake in, run into that corner and have a little bit of carnage. Fortunately, these drivers are able to avoid that happening this time around.
Yeah, indeed they are, and the more these guys continue to squabble up here, that battle we were looking at a little bit earlier between Patrick Cowgill and Michael Pavolano, you can see them flashing by in the back of your screen. They are only about a second and a half behind, so if this battle keeps up, they'll be right in the thick of it.
Now, right now, I think a battle is going to keep up. We've got lots of nice little battles going on in the early stages here at Phillip Island. Had a few spins on the opening laps. I wonder if cold tyres were kind of to blame for a few of those things, because it looks like the drivers have got themselves sorted out. And now, of course, I want to keep half an eye on Robbie Campbell and see... now that he's got his car under him, what kind of charge he can put on through the field, although it is still Kyle Robertson setting the purple times.
Well, remember how I said a couple of laps ago he was 7 seconds behind the nearest car? He's already halved that down to about 4 seconds, so Campbell on a charge. But we'll let you know when that gets spicy. For now, we want to keep our eyes focused here on the 184 of Bradley Holly as he makes his way through Southern Loop. He's trying to chase down Charles Sumner in front of him. The gap's only about a second right now, but he's going to have to watch behind him as well, because I think if there's a mistake, that Swindell's will pounce.
Heading into the braking zone, checking out some of these awesome camera shots provided to us by Dougie Beard in the early stages here. Now, these drivers will have to make a pit stop at some point, DJ. They're probably going to try and go as long as they possibly can, though, before they make that pit stop. Really, the best reason to come in early is if you're being held up by traffic, but you can't, you know, you don't really get held up by traffic here at Phillip Island. If you catch someone, you can pretty easily try and pass them.
Yeah, we have seen the undercut play out to an advantage now and again, and I think it may be a little bit better, though, because this is such a truncated field. Only 16 cars, 14 running right now. Actually, 13 with Berkowitz still waiting repairs in the pits. So that may factor into the logic a little bit of it, but at the same time, I do agree with you for the most part, Sammy, that we are going to probably see these guys try to run as long as they can. Because these are GT cars, remember, there's not going to be a tire change. It's fuel only.
Yeah. So we're riding on board Michael Pablano here in 7th position, chasing Patrick Cowgill for 6th place, getting very wide. You definitely don't want to go into the grass there. Your car will go off at a tangent and run away from the racetrack. And it's pretty much all Porsches and McLarens up here right now. Our highest placed BMW is Johnny Luna back in 11th.
Yeah, exactly. And remember, Luna had that off earlier in the race that took him out. And yeah, you got to be very careful, as you said there, Sammy, when you're coming through Southern Loop. That part of the track is crowned a little bit, so if you get too far out to the right side, you lose any good sort of camber, and it breaks away from you, makes it harder and harder to control. So running wide, you know, you're trying to maximize speed. It's not exactly going to work out well for you. Continue to watch here. Pavolano just trying to fill up Patrick Cowgill's mirrors, almost taking a look into Lukey Heights. I like a little bit of the aggressiveness here out of the 101.
And this definitely is not the only battle we have out there on track, but everyone's kind of holding station no matter where you look right now. Charles Sumner still has Bradley Holly not far behind him in third. And I wonder how many drivers, DJ, even at the amateur level here, you know, this being the AM class, and we'll watch a pro racing, and now, Johnny Luna doesn't have an interval next to his name on the left-hand side of your screen. Does that mean something happened? Sounds like we may have lost Luna, yet he's out of a race. So here we go back up to the battle for second place. So Sumner has a bit of a gap over Holly, but what I was trying to say, DJ, is I think even at the amateur level here, these drivers are aware that there could be something to be said for fuel saving right now. Maybe Bradley Holly just wants to stay in third place. But we'll see. Maybe he might try and make a move for second, but right now he'll be getting a nice tow down the front straight, which might help him save some fuel.
Yeah, it very well could be, and especially for some of these drivers that are used to the oval side. I'm looking particularly at the battle we're watching, Charles Sumner and Bradley Holly. That idea of fuel saving is not foreign to them, so if they can eke out a lap or two more, we may see it help them out in the long run.
Robbie Campbell, I don't think is fuel saving. You can see he's picked up another position and he's into ninth. And, you know, we're talking about the champion of a series going from 16th to 9th place. And you're saying, well, why is that impressive? Well, he did lose about 10 seconds earlier on after having his big off at turn 1. So he's definitely recovered from that and making moves. Let's see if Holly tries to do anything here. He's too far back, even if he wanted second place. I wonder if we listen here, DJ. Do you hear him backing off at all? Not much.
Yeah, not much at all. He looks like he's pretty much in it. Just trying to put the pressure to Sumner. And at this point, I think it could be that. But we're going to jump back here, Sam, because I think we've got another good battle.
Yeah, this is Campbell continuing his charge. So he's 21 seconds back of a race leader. But right now he's a little bit more concerned about how many cars he has between himself and the race leader. It was 8, it's now only 7, and out wide goes Hilton. He's off into the grass. You don't want to be doing that. He's off into the gravel. He's regained control of the car, but lost a lot of time. He has 10 seconds over Adam McDonald. So he's able to retain 9th position, but definitely lost a bunch of time.
Checking back here on this battle with Holly and Sumner. Unless my eyes deceive me, it looks like Holly's starting to put the screws here a little bit more to him. Definitely closing up there through Lukey Heights as they get ready to plunge down MG. I love the way that Holly is almost driving this as if he's in an open wheeler, just trying to get some clean air to the front of the car. Now, that's not going to do much for the aerodynamic handling of the car in these GT4s. There's not a whole lot of aerodynamics on them, but what he is doing is filling up Charles Sumner's wing mirrors and really making sure that that 98 knows that he is there and trying to force a mistake.
Oh, let's see if he tries to make something happen on Sumner here. Doesn't look like it. I believe the front straight... Ooh, Sumner overshoots the turn a little bit there. I believe the front straight points to the south. So if a wind is coming from the north, it's actually a tailwind down the front straight, which... Oh, here we go. Holly got a nice run there. Sumner did not get a good exit out of that second corner.
No, he did not, but that's going to be Holly on the preferred line. He's got around Sumner. There it is. Move Bradley Holly up into that second place position, and Sumner's got to be careful because that is Swindell's coming up behind now.
Yes, Swindell's and also Vanko there in 5th place. That's 2nd through 5th. Not too far away from each other. There you see our timing and scoring pretty much covered by just a couple of seconds in total. Obviously, still a good points day for Sumner here in 2nd place. It'll be interesting to see now with Holly in 2nd place if he can do anything about catching Kyle Robertson.
Yeah, we'll have to see. Robertson has been able to pull out a pretty substantial gap here of about 7.5 seconds, but Holly certainly has the speed to do it. Looking at their fastest laps, though, Robertson does have a pretty significant margin over him, about 7/10 over Hawley.
So we've got second, third, fourth and fifth all on track together there. Not too far behind them, sixth and seventh are in their own little train or tandem, if you will. Patrick Calgill and Michael Pabolino, and eventually, I suppose, they might be joined by Robbie Campbell. Although now that he's cleared all the traffic behind him, he's not exactly making a massive impression on them.
He's really not at this point. I think Campbell, though, by the end of this race, will be up behind them. Do not be surprised at this rate. I'm thinking we may even see Robbie on the podium and maybe able to talk to him after this race is done.
Kevin Bergquist, after his misfortunes on the opening map, is finally rejoining the race, but he's 8 laps down, so he's not going to be able to gain a lot of positions from back there. So Charles Sumner can breathe easy for now. Well, he's probably not breathing easy, actually. He's probably knowing he's going to wrap up fourth in the championship. I'm sure he might have other things on his mind right now, running in third place.
Indeed. I think for Sumner at this point, yes, he knows he'll be able to wrap it up, but with Bergquist effectively out of the race, he'll be able to wrap it up regardless, and he just wants to get as good of a result as possible. Almost a look there down the inside of MG, as that Pavolano there really starting to try to put the moves to Patrick Calgill.
So this is a battle for 6th and 7th. Again, just a few seconds behind our leaders. And even though, as we get a view here of Calgill, who might be letting Pabolino by entering turn 1 here. I say let him by, he might not have had a choice.
Yeah, it's definitely a little bit of a go-by for Pavolano, so he'll be up ahead. Now, the only problem is all of that battle has allowed for about a 4.5-second gap up to Glenn Vanko. Calgill looking like he's not going too quietly here, though. He got a good run out of the southern loop. I don't think he's going to be close enough to make a move down into Honda, but he's certainly thinking about it.
Yeah, I wanted to compare the lap times of 3 drivers that we've been talking about a little bit so far today. So Kyle Robertson was the fastest of them, about half a second quicker last lap around than Bradley Holly, even though Holly is running without any traffic right now in 2nd place. And likewise, Robertson was also faster than Robbie Campbell, down in 8th place. Campbell only a couple of tenths slower than Robertson, but still he'd need to be a lot quicker than that if he wanted to win this race. So I don't think we're going to see any kind of miracle performance by Campbell today to win this event. That being said, we still have over half a race to go, and who knows what could happen.
Yeah, we've seen some crazy things happen over the course of this race already, and with that 3rd through 5th position running very, very close to each other, I don't think anything is exactly out of the realm of possibility, not to mention the fact we still have the charging Robbie Campbell working his way up through.
So here we go back up to the battle for battle for 3rd now, with Sumner having lost 2nd place and now losing a little bit of ground to Bradley Holly, and I wonder if that's going to encourage Richard Swindells to try and make a move for 3rd place.
It very well might. Everybody looking relatively equidistant here. Holly pulling away a little bit, but Sumner definitely losing a little bit of ground to Swindells. At least he was in the early sections. Let's see how they go through this hard braking zone into Honda. Looks about pretty good for both of them. Maybe a little bit of a later apex there for Swindells.
Approaching the halfway point of the first race of this broadcast. Remember, after this, we go over to the Charlotte Roval for the GT Pro Series. A very different circuit to the high-speed, flowy nature of this racetrack down under. Everyone just holding station for now, but remember they do still have pit stops coming up, and with 2nd through 8th all running kind of close together, it'll be interesting to see how that all unfolds.
Yeah, indeed. We've seen pit stops catch people out here before. And you mentioned it at the top, Sam, just how tricky that pit entrance is. It's a very, very narrow path. There's not a chicane or anything necessarily to throw you out, but it's deceptive in the way that the track curves to the left as you dive down pit lane. I've seen many drivers, including myself, run a little bit wide and carry too much speed and end off for a nice little holiday into the grass off to the right there.
So everyone trying to work their way around. So this second corner, sorry, I think I might be a little bit lost on the racetrack. No, yeah, I was right. Turn number 2 there, that's the turn I'm so used to seeing cars just swing around you on. But obviously with these GT4 cars being renowned for their understeer, it's less of a concern for them. But if you get in any other car here on iRacing at Phillip Island, beware turn 2. Because the rear end doesn't always like to stay where it should.
Yeah, that rear end very much likes to fall out there. And like we talked about earlier, the crown of the track, very easy to break away if you get too far over to the right. It's very tricky, and no matter what kind of car you are running in, my experience when running them obviously being in a little bit more of the open wheelers, and there it is absolutely deadly. These drivers now that we've gotten about halfway through the race doing a lot better of a job than we saw early on, navigating everything pretty well.
Yeah, some of our viewers may have noticed that Adam McDonald lost 10th position earlier this lap to David Calhoun. And he did that, ironically enough, by going for a spin at turn number 2. So I guess it can happen in these GT4 cars. Kyle Robertson hasn't had any kind of dramas here today yet. There's still a long ways left to go in this race. And even though he's holding a 9-second lead, we've already seen from a few drivers today that going off in the grass can cost you more than 9 seconds. What's happened to Vanko?
He's come into the pits. He and Pablano are coming into the pits, as have Baron Hilton. So we've had the first drivers pulling the trigger here to maybe go for a little bit of an undercut.
Yeah, a few drivers choosing to come in right on the center of this race. Obviously, 40-minute race, they're really not going to concern themselves with changing tires. Now, there's a long pit exit that they're all using on the left. I saw some drivers in practice using the little shortcut. I don't know if that's frowned upon. Some series, some races will even penalize it.
Yeah, there was a little bit of talk about it because iRacing won't automatically penalize it. It was a bit of an honor system, and if there was a report made, I believe that they would be penalized, but they wouldn't necessarily be watching for it across the board. Now, let's keep an eye here to see if that move by Vanko, Pablano, and Hilton has caused anybody else to want to dive in here. Keeping an eye on our leader, it looks like Robertson's choosing to stay out right now. But we're also watching that battle with Holly and Sumner and Swindells. We'll see if they come in. No, looks like they're all going to stay out.
Yeah, Adam McDonald had another off at turn 2 this lap. So the number 14 machine not having a great time out there right now. So keep an eye to see if that hurts him once the pit cycle is over, if he's a bit further down the order. Right now, watching again this battle for second position. Holly had looked like he had dropped Sumner a little while ago, but now Sumner's caught back up with him.
Yeah, it looks like this is ebbing and flowing a little bit. And remember, this is an open setup series, so we could be dealing with something where Sumner's car may be a little bit better set up when the fuel loads get lighter. Now, it's not like you're dealing with a super light car where you've got to worry about those fuel loads as much, but it can still come in a little bit. So we see David Calhoun, the latest to come into pit lane.
Oh, he overshot his pit stall. That's going to cost him some time. I just wanted to give Calhoun a shout out because I mistakenly said earlier that Luna was the highest driver up the order in the BMW, but obviously right now it was Calhoun, but unfortunately he's going to lose some time during his pit stop from overshooting his stall. And those are the kind of mistakes we've seen in this series that have cost people out a lot before. Now let's see here. Holly's going to stay. No, Holly's coming in. Sumner's coming in, as does I believe. Holly's off.
Oh, he caught it, but very close. That's exactly what I was talking about there, Sam. You can just run wide if you're not careful.
Yeah, he did a nice job getting back onto that narrow strip of tarmac that marks pit entry. But here we go. Second, third, and fourth, all in the pits together. Let's see what order they come off. It's Holly, then Sumner, then Swindells, and here we're watching Vanko, seeing where he comes out with relation to them after the pit stops are all said and done.
Yeah, that's going to be the real tell here. Now, the drivers that have remained out on track, it looks like Robertson, Semkowicz, and McDonald right now, watching as everybody comes out. They're going to come out the same way they came in.
No, they're not.
No, they're not. Excuse me.
Them. Yeah.
Thank you for that catch. He was 3 seconds faster there, so I don't know if that was just better on the brakes, if that coming into the pits, coming in on pit lane hurt Holly, or if Sumner may have underfueled a little bit.
Yeah, Campbell and Calgill also came in quite close together, and Campbell has beat Calgill out of the pits. He's working his way up through the field on track and in the pits. Still waiting for our overall leader, Robertson, to pit, but he's got a 47-second lead now, and he comes in, and he should, barring disaster, come out easily in the lead.
I would imagine he would, and indeed he's coming in right now. It looks like on lap 16 of this race with just over 4 minutes to go. Coming to rest. Yeah, I think he'll be just fine. We're seeing pit stops take about 15 to 16 seconds, or 16 to 18 seconds here on average. Waiting for it now. Keeping an eye, though, on Pavolano and Calgill.
Yeah, 14 minutes left to go, so we're keeping an eye on these battles for second on back, because again, yeah, Robertson's already rolling, so he should easily hold on to the lead of this race ahead of this battle for second. So, Holly took second place from Sumner earlier on. We watched him do it. He started to pull away, and then Sumner ran him back down and got second place back in the pits. This is definitely an interesting battle to watch, and I think the battle of most interest between now and the end of the race, because it looks like Robertson has a W in the bag, although anything can happen in racing, and Sumner almost runs wide on the exit of turn 1 there.
Yeah, he does, and that's, ooh, and runs very wide, as does Holly. They're both spinning in unison.
And Swindells is going to find a way through to go from 4th into 2nd place. So Sumner made a mistake, and Holly followed him into it, and Sumner actually came off better out of that. But when Swindells came out the best, goes from 4th to 2nd. Sumner goes from 3rd to 3rd, and Holly goes from 2nd and still falling.
Wow, so a big shake up there. That's going to move Swindells up into 2nd. Sumner will hold on to 3rd, and Bradley Holly falling all the way back to 6th. And that is your championship winner of this season, Robbie Campbell, right ahead of him in 5th. He's now got his sights set on Glenn Vanko ahead of him for 4th. So remember that prediction I made, Sammy? He may be in the podium positions before the end of this.
Yeah, I think if Campbell really struck gold here and started running some mega lap times, he could potentially get 2nd place. However, these drivers back here have a bit of an issue in traffic in front of them. Not only do they have to pass cars for position, but there's also a couple of lapped cars running in this pack.
Yeah, that's going to make things a little bit interesting. I'm seeing up ahead of them, that is Bergquist and Newhook that they're going to have to start to deal with. Bergquist, who obviously has some speed, was taken out there at the beginning, so he'll make things certainly interesting. But just waiting for them to catch up. Looks like there, though, that Bradley Holly got a pretty good run out of the final corner, definitely gaining in some time a little bit on Robbie Campbell.
We're approaching the final 10 minutes of this race. Carl Robertson has been controlling the field, but you can see on the timing and scoring on the left-hand side of your screen, Robbie Swindell in 2nd place, back to Patrick Calgill in 7th place, covered by 10 seconds. Now, all the drivers have completed their pit stops, so it's pretty much a sprint race to the end, and it might be down to which driver makes the least mistakes, because we've seen several made this race.
Yeah, indeed, we have lots of those silly mistakes getting made and costing some drivers pretty dearly here. But as we continue to watch Robbie Campbell, he's got the gap down to Glenn Vanko to about 1 second here as they charge their way up the hill, closing in a little bit on Kevin Bergquist, but not enough to make things too interesting. I have to imagine with this pace we've seen out of Robbie Campbell, he may be able to clutch Vanko before they get into having to deal with Bergquist.
Well, the battle for second may well be on as well, because Sumner has really closed the back up on Swindells, who inherited second place when Sumner and Holly went off. Keeping an eye as they enter the front straight. Yeah, I think Charles Sumner is about to make a move for second place. Swindells has not gotten a very good exit down the front straight. Sumner's got a massive run. Is going to look to the outside. How hard is Swindells going to fight this?
He's going to fight it pretty hard. Ooh, almost banging doors there as they come through doing. Now it's going to be Sumner late on the brakes, pushing Swindells a little bit off onto that off-camber side of the track. Swindells has to back off, and that is going to be Sumner back up into P2. And behind him, Campbell. Campbell has made the move on Glenn Vanko.
So Campbell up into fourth position. Now he's got a ways to go before he catches this battle for second place and a couple of lap cars to do it. So, and here we'll get a replay for the pass for fourth place because we didn't get to see that at the time. But pretty much just a nice setup there, going through the second corner down the inside and takes the position. But is that the last pass we're going to see out of Campbell? Or can he try and put down some hot laps here and maybe catch that battle for second?
Well, he's going to have his work cut out for him. He's got about 4 seconds up the road to it, and he's got to get by Bergquist and Newhook, who are both lapped traffic on the way. Now, that's going to make things a bit interesting. Well, behind them, looking like Bradley Holly's maybe trying to take a step or two at Glenn Vanko.
Yeah, it's definitely been a battle to pick from second to seventh place all race long. Keeps ebbing and flowing, and I think one of the lap cars is coming in. Yeah, Peter Newhook comes into the pits, so that'll help. That means Campbell won't have to deal with trying to get by him.
Not sure if that's a scheduled pit stop or maybe a penalty there for Newhook. We haven't mentioned it that much during the course of this race, but remember earlier in the season they had such a problem with those penalty points that they had to raise the penalty incident, and you do get a drive-through if you have that, if you cross over that 13 mark. So here comes the charge still. Campbell's got it down under 3 seconds, or no, it's grown here at this point to about 5.5 if my timing and scoring is correct.
Yeah, it is 5.5, but I think it has actually shrunk a little bit. I think it was a little bit more than that. Oh, watching the battle going on behind Campbell there into the braking zone. But yeah, let's see what kind of lap times Campbell can run now that he's got some clear track.
Be hoping for some good times here. He's obviously very, very quick out on the circuit, but his best lap time is only about a 10th under Richard Swindells, so he's not exactly flying here at this point, although on the last lap he had about 1.5 seconds over the number 16.
Yeah, but I think that was aided by the fact that Swindells was in that battle for second place with Sumner last lap. So let's see what kind of lap time Sumner and Swindells run this lap around. If they're able to run 1:36s, I think they should safely be able to stay in second and third.
I think they should be right with that. With just under 7 minutes to go, that's going to be very, very tricky. But again, there we see Bradley Holly poking his nose to the outside a little bit on Glenn Vanko, just kind of see if he's interested in making that move. Vanko going very slightly defensive into doing. Now, Holly looked very good coming in to the Southern Loop last time. It's a big lock up in front there, I think. Oh, and there comes Holly with the opportunistic move.
Nice pass through the center of a corner. So this is a change for 5th and 6th positions. And as you can see, they're still not far behind Campbell, who ran a 1:37 himself last lap. So Robbie Campbell definitely doesn't have a pace to catch that battle for second, barring disaster. So this is really the battle we have left up front here for 4th, 5th, 6th, and maybe even 7th position if Patrick Calgill can run these drivers down. It's Robbie Campbell leading this pack there in that number 93 machine. Then this change for 5th place that you just saw with Bradley Holly getting by Glenn Vanko. And then if things get a bit ugly between them, Patrick Cowgill just a couple seconds down the road, ready to take advantage in 7th place.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of drivers just waiting for the proper opportunity here to do something. Got to give massive credit there to Bradley Holly. That was just slow and patient in the back, waiting for the opportunity to arise, and he saw that little bobble, saw that little opportunity from Glenn Vanko, and he pounced.
Well, only a few laps left to go as these drivers come across the line, about half a minute after Carl Robertson has already done so. Yeah, Swindells is in 2nd place ahead of Sumner. And that is that a change for position, I believe?
Yes, it is. Swindell's getting passed back by Sumner. Remember, they came out in the pits the other way around.
Yeah, no, last lap around, Sumner went wide at the 2nd corner, and that's how Swindells has been able to move back by him. So, yeah, Sumner... Yeah, so, and there is the gap, which obviously will have decreased a little bit as we watch this Vanko getting back by Holly for 5th and 6th place. So with Sumner going off and allowing Swindell to get by for 2nd, that's cost them both a little bit of time to Campbell, but again, I don't think it's enough. I think they're still going to be able to hold on to 2nd and 3rd place. But now if Sumner runs down Swindells and starts battling him, that could allow these guys to close in. But still, this battle for 5th is the one that's on right now, with Vanko and Holly switching it back and forth.
Yeah, Vanko on that last lap pulling a very similar move to what we saw Bradley Holly do going through the southern loop. Ooh, Holly looking for a little bit of an over-under. Vanko being very, very smart there to pull it off. Wow, big amount of curb there for Bradley Holly, hopping it over through that run out of MG. He's now going to hope for another good run coming through here. He's got a tighter line, hoping to carry momentum, but he's got to check up. Good defense from Glenn Vanko, and Holly knew it. There you can see him nodding.
Yeah, I don't think those are the best places to be making moves. You're really not going to force someone out wide there at those 2 left-hander kinks leading onto the front straight. You'd think he would have been better off just setting up for a pass draft down the front straight. So, but still, both cars keep on going. I think Holly might be getting a bit impatient because he sees Campbell pulling away from them in front in 4th place.
Yeah, I think he does a little bit there as well, but I think part of that was we can't completely blame Bradley Holly for that move. I think that was a little bit better of a defense by Glenn Vanko. We parked the car on the apex of turn 12, just kind of let it sit there for a moment and checked up Bradley Holly a lot.
We should be coming to 2 laps left to go at the completion of this lap, as we watch this battle for 2nd once again, as Sumner is catching up with Swindell. And there's a lap car ahead of him, and Swindell won't be wanting this lap car to get in his way, but maybe they'll be able to catch him on the front straight, and the car will just be able to pull over to the side.
Yeah, he'll certainly be hoping for that as they work their way around here again. Sumner looking like he's got a little bit of a run if he can get it to go.
Yep, so here we go. The battle for 2nd may be on because Adam McDonald is still a little ways up the road. That's the lap car we were talking about. 2 minutes left on the clock, so 2 laps left to go as these drivers come across the start and finish line. And you can see the battle for 4th, 5th and 6th not too far behind these guys in the background. If they don't hold each other up too much, these guys should finish in the podium positions. We'll have to see how intent Swindells is on holding on to P2.
I think that's going to be the real question here. Robbie, though, still only has a gap of about 3.5 seconds, so that is a big, big gap to try to make up. There you see it's that battle we've been continuing to follow. Bradley Holly knowing he's not going to have a whole lot of time here to get again by. But we're going to go back up to Sumner and Swindells as that looks like it's heating up a little bit.
Yeah, it definitely is, and they're edging closer to the lap car of Abby McDonald, who goes off into the grass, the gravel, is able to regain control of the car, and of course he has a nice 3-second gap there to kind of pull onto the track and not get in anyone's way. So that takes a lap car out of the equation for Swindells and for Sumner as Kyle Robertson comes through the final corner, and he's about to get the white flag here to start the final lap.
Yes, he is, and this has been a commanding drive for Kyle Robertson. The gap holding at about 20 seconds at this point. Flag to flag for him. We're going to go back here. This is Sumner and Swindells as they make their way down. That was a little bit wide there for Swindells. Is that going to be an opportunity for Sumner?
Yeah, he was really trying to arc that corner as much as he possibly could, but I agree with you. I think he got his right wheels out a little bit too wide, and it could have ended ugly if he'd hit the grass at the wrong angle, but fortunately he's able to keep it pointing in the right direction. Has to use the brakes to get through this first corner here. Some cars can take it flat out, but not these GT4 cars. Swindells hugging the inside line, doesn't want Sumner to sneak on by there. Oh, but he has to use the brakes on the exit of a turn. Sumner, of course, will have seen those brake lights illuminated, and maybe he'll use that as kind of the blood in the water incentive he needs to try and make a move into the hairpin here.
He's certainly going to try for it. You see him, he's going to have to go around the long ways up. Richard Swindells. Swindells tries to cover off the apex, prevents Sumner from making any sort of over-under move, and that's going to give him a little bit of an advantage as they go down into Siberia.
Behind this battle, Campbell is still holding on to fourth. Vanko and Holly are kind of close for fifth and sixth, but these two are definitely racing a bit closer right now for silver and for bronze on the podium, with Swindell ahead of Sumner. All the while, Robertson about to work his way through the final corner, and here he goes through this final long left-hander, providing he's got enough fuel. Well, he doesn't even need fuel now. He can coast it to the end. The checkered flag is waving, the headlights are blinking. Kyle Robertson wins at Phillip Island.
A great run there for Kyle Robertson. Flag to flag victory for the number 15. Checking back on that battle for P2 that we've been keeping our eye on. Oh, Robbie Campbell is out.
He's coming into the pits from fourth place. The battle for second will be won by Swindell ahead of Sumner. But really, the big change for position there, Campbell going from fourth and dropping back. But of course, it's going to end up being your champion, but just no fuel in his car at the end of the finale.
Oh, a little bit of a tough break to a dominant season there for Robbie Campbell. Waiting for the last drivers to come across the line right now. Here, it looks like Pavlano will be able to cross over in eighth, and Robbie Campbell will be categorized as in seventh.
All right, so Kyle Robertson comes home your race winner. The gap between Richard Swindells and Charles Sumner for second and third place was half a second. Glenn Vanko finishes in fourth place, about likewise half a second ahead of Bradley Holly. Patrick Galgill finished sixth place, and Campbell drops back to seventh place with a fuel issue he had at the end there. Michael Pabalano will finish in eighth ahead of Baron Hilton and Spencer Semkovich, rounding out your top 10.
In 11th, it was David Calhoun, and Adam McDonald was able to come home 2 laps down, with Peter Newhook 3 laps down, and Kevin Burke was suffering an incident at the beginning to come home 8 laps down. Johnny Luna and Jerome Berthum, both your non-finishers here in today's race.
Well, we have a pro race coming up momentarily, but first we got some interviews. Yeah, well, we'll have drivers to talk to in just a moment. But again, stay here, stay tuned here. We'll win the pro race on this same broadcast feed, on the same YouTube video, if that's where you're watching. And that will be the GT Pro Cars racing at the Charlotte Roval. So definitely a different kind of race than what we're going to see here. So your champion of the season was Robbie Campbell. We already knew that coming in. But really, I think one of neater drives there that we saw today, DJ. It wasn't a perfect drive, but a nice race by Charles Sumner to bring home that third place and kind of hold on to fourth in the points.
Yeah, indeed. It was a great ride for Sumner. We've seen him so many times in the Wednesday night truck series or in the Sunday night NASCAR series, and just really good to see him slicing and dicing in here on a road course. In a fourth place for him, very good.
All right, first up in our interviews here, we have Swindells, who came home in second place. Well, You weren't able to race for the win there, so I think the best you could do after that was second place. So congrats on that finish. That was definitely a fun one to watch.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Kyle was just the class of the field tonight, just too far ahead to catch. But we had some good battles for second and third in there, and it was a lot of fun.
Wrapping up a season, how would you say it went for you as a whole, and what are your goals heading into the next season?
I only started in week 3, and I had to miss another week. So as a whole, I'm very happy. It was a lot of fun. League put on a good... it was a really good series. You guys did a great job broadcasting, and Robbie Campbell, our champ, him and I worked together a lot, and he did phenomenal. So next season, we're going to try GT3 in the same league.
All right, well, we have a GT3 race coming up momentarily, so going to keep it short and sweet, but congrats on your second place finish. We're looking forward to seeing you again in the future.
Thanks a lot.
Got a couple more interviews. DJ, you've called up with Kyle Robertson.
Well, Kyle, I don't know how much easier it gets than that, my friend. A flag-to-flag victory out here at Phillip Island. That's got to feel good.
Yeah, no, it feels great. I was trying to do my best Lewis Hamilton impression there. No, but it was a lot of fun. Phillip Island is a great track. I honestly hated it before, but after a lot of practice, I realized that this is such a fun track to drive, and I kind of wish I could go down to Australia and try it in real life, honestly.
It makes me glad to hear somebody else say that because it's one of my personal favorites. But obviously, on this season, not enough to grab Robbie Campbell. But I got to ask you what your goals are coming into next season. Are you going to try to go for that big championship?
Yeah, I am. I'm just trying to decide right now between a GT3 M and the MX5 series coming up. So, but I will be racing again next season. PRL is such a great series, and I'm really excited that I joined it.
Well, we're certainly happy you did as well. Kyle, anybody you'd like to thank for this victory here today?
Yeah, I'd like to thank my sponsors, J-Moto, Drive Trainer Motorsport, 10 Flat Detail, Chocolate Dandies, my teammates, Andre, Antonio, and Colin for supporting me all season, my wife for supporting my racing addiction. And I'd like to thank you guys for the great commentary all season. It's been awesome watching these races back, and I'm really looking forward to another season.
Well, I can tell you something, Kyle. We're looking forward to it as well. That was your winner here today, Kyle Robertson. And now, Sam, I believe you have caught up with Charles Sumner.
Yeah, we've got them in the booth here. So, Charles, a nice finish to the season, a third-place finish, and it helps you in the championship battles you had there in the final round.
Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised tonight. This was my first race ever here, actually. My teammate told me early on, hey, just treat it like most part, get into a groove early. I had a good race there earlier in the season, and I just couldn't believe that I was able to sneak out a podium this season.
Yeah, but it wasn't without peril, though. A lot of slipping and sliding there in that battle. Pretty much went from second to seventh place all of the race.
Yeah, honestly, with it being the season finale, and this league has been awesome. It's been a lot of fun. Normally, I'm a very conservative driver, and just decided to. Hey, let's wheel it. It's the last race of the season, right? So I was kind of pushing my limits more than I ever have, trying to get outside of my comfort zone, and it was just a tremendous amount of fun. But yeah, I could have gone without a couple of grass touches on the outside of 2 and 3 there.
All right, well, we've only got a few minutes before the pro race starts at the Charlotte Roval, so we're going to make it short and sweet, Charles. But who would you like to thank?
As always, thanks to the GSRC for putting on a great show. My boys in the PRL, everything that we do, ButtKicker, RaceLab, SimMSA, Advanced SimRacing, Ninja Trader, everybody who makes this possible. And shout out to Tropicana as well. Yeah,
I definitely like it. You definitely have some of more lively paint schemes out there, I would say Charles does. So it's always nice to be able to tell which car is his. Well, we're going to say bye to Phillip Island and hello to the Charlotte Roval momentarily as we get things switched over. I can tell you we're about 4 minutes away from racing there. So we're going to wrap things up momentarily, take a quick break, and we will be right back in just a couple of moments. One race down, one to go. And if you thought Phillip Island was exciting, well, buckle up, because things are about to get really wild as the GT Pro guys arrive at the Charlotte Motor Speedway Roval course. And hey, DJ, let's take a look at our GSRC track map here and tell us a little bit about this tricky course.
Well, it is based a little bit on the Daytona road course, but it has its own unique characteristics. In these GT3s, the draft is going to be absolutely mega around here. The best overtaking opportunities really probably going down into the bus stop, but that's very, very narrow. So they're going to have to be careful about that and make sure they keep all 4 tires on the incredibly difficult undulating infield section. So all drivers are going to have to make sure they are on top of their game here.
Well, over in the AM series, we knew the Drivers' Championship had already been wrapped up by Campbell, but here in the GT Pro series, it's definitely not over. Nicholas Rubelar only has 14 points over Carl Modoff, and quite appropriately, they are first and second in the qualifying session right now. Then they have a massive gap over Jesse Stevens in third place. He's sitting there pretty comfortably, but you can see after fourth, it starts to get a little bit bunched up again. And we also have a team championship here, DJ.
We do indeed, Sam, and pretty close at the top there as well with Punto CL Racing Black, only 15 points ahead of Delta Sport Raptor. They've been able to gap back to third, though, for Delta Sport Falcon, are a little bit out of reach and on an island all to themselves. Pure Sims Esports in another island, and same with Delta Sport Eagle. So the real battle we've got is between Punto and Delta Sport up front.
And one last look at our race details. Again, this is the season finale for the GT Pro Series as well. Round 10 of 10. We have a whole bunch of different GT3 cars, very popular here on iRacing. A 40-minute race, open setup, and these incident points might be something to keep an eye on, because things can get a little argy-bargy here at the Charlotte Roval, no matter what car you drive.
Yeah, very much so. Little brushes with the wall here and there, although not so much with the off tracks, but we're just about ready to be done with qualifying and get this race underway. And to the surprise of nobody, it is our leaders of the championship, Rubelar and Modoff, 1-2 in qualifying.
Looks like James David will be the first car to take a checkered flag here as the clock ticks down to 0. And James David was not able to set a time, so we'll be starting from the back of the field. Carl Modoff into the pits.
So that's going to be Modoff ostensibly giving that pole position to Rubelar, and that lap not going to count for Rubelar as he got a little friendly with that outside wall. So now it looks like Jesse Stevens currently back in 5th place. We've seen some aggressive moves out of that Pure Sims Esports driver before. He flies his way out of NASCAR 4 down into this tricky final braking zone. Big bunch of curbs there. Let's see if Jesse's gotten any improvement by about a 0.006 of a second for Jesse, so that's going to be an improvement, but not any better.
Fred is across the line. He's in 11th position. Yeah, nice to see the BMWs here in the GT3 series as well. They didn't do too hot in the GT4 race. Maybe they can redeem themselves here. Philippe Magnan, Davidson Motorsport car. This paint scheme stands out like Sumner's Tropicana paint almost, doesn't it? Philippe crosses the line, was 17th, is still 17th.
Yes, it very well does. Here comes James David. David's not been able to set a time thus far. Let's see if he can get one in here.
I think he already took a checkered flag. I think he started that lap after the clock had already hit 0. So that's going to wrap up qualifying here at the Charlotte Roval. We'll give you a full grid readout in just a few moments once the qualifying comes to conclusion. But we can tell you it's the 2 championship rivals on the front row and separated by less than, well, actually, no, just a little over 1/10 of a second, DJ.
Yeah, and so that's going to be very, very close. And with as effective as the draft is going to be around here, I wouldn't be surprised if we see a lot of swapping back and forth between those 2 cars. The Lamborghini and the Porsche, known as being very slippery on the straights. So it may be a situation where they're able to pull out something.
Well, it's time to find out, because it is time to go racing here for the final race of the season in the PRL GT Pro Championship, and it will be Nicholas Rubelar, your points leader, leading them off from pole position ahead of Cole Modoff in second place. Horatio Calkin will start third place, not too far behind Rubelar on the scoring sheets. Gonzalo Cortez will be starting for fourth. Jesse Stevens, fifth place, ahead of Colin Wagner. Connor Bell will start from seventh, ahead of Diego Morales. Treyar Williams and Dave Meneno round out the top 10.
In 11th, it'll be Ignacio Rodrigo Fredes, followed by Christian Raditz, with David Holland in 13th and Alessandro DiTullio lining up 14th. Teddy Lowendick is going to be back in 15th, followed by Arnaud Genet and Philippe Magnan, rounding out the drivers who set a time here. Chris Ferragano is going to be 18th, and James David will round out the back of the field in 19th.
Doesn't matter what car you're racing, what series you're racing, DJ. I think I've always found whenever I've done a race on iRacing at this Charlotte Roval, it has produced some of the most chaotic racing I'm normally involved in. And here's one of our 19 gladiators getting ready for some entertainment tonight.
Teddy Lowendick always providing a good laugh for us. We love the shout out there on his chest. All of our GSRC commentators represented. Thank you, Teddy. But yeah, to your point, thank you, Teddy. But to your point, Sam, this track is nothing short of a chaos drome. There are so many heavy braking zones, so many high curbs that are easy to upset the car, get the car a little bit squirrely, particularly looking as they're coming out of that infield section, that turn 7 and 8 complex. How many times have we seen the cars wash up into the wall, as well as miss the braking zone and go flying over the curbs through turn 16 and 17?
Yeah, I think every single turn on this track is tricky. The roll-off can also be a little bit tricky here, how they kind of line the cars up Le Mans style there in the infield. But here we go, one pace lap around the track here, where the drivers will try and get their tyres warm. And that's going to be something that's key to do, because there's a lot of technical turns that they'll want to have as much grip as they can to get through on the opening lap.
They most certainly will, but they're going to have a little bit of help here, as the track temperature is currently 106 degrees Fahrenheit. So those GT tires will be able to come up to temperature relatively quickly. But as we've seen, anytime we've seen series race here, whether it is IMSA or whether it is NASCAR, that first corner, the heartburn turn, can be an absolute bear if you're not completely up to scruff.
Yeah, and in real life, they kind of take out that final chicane on the pace lap, where drivers keep to the oval so that they all get to have a nice approach to the first corner. It doesn't really let you do that on iRacing, and already we see some fuel saving going on our onboard there with the car in 6th gear. By the way, I just went onto the GSRC merch store, which is a thing at globalsimracingchannel.com, and I'm disappointed I don't see a shirt with my face on it, so someone needs to get on that.
Well, I think that is just Teddy's ingenuity putting itself out there. He always loves to do things like that, but we'll be sure to do that. Yeah, make sure to head over to that, support this great channel, because we love bringing these races to you.
The field are now out onto the oval banking, so they've completed the first technical part of this course. There's really only 2 more interruptions between them and the finish line, but they're very tricky interruptions. First, you have this chicane on the back straight, which has been remodeled a couple of times to stop cars from flying in the air, basically, and busting their way through tyre barriers. It still happens on occasion, but it happens a little bit less. A very tricky Watkins Glen style inner loop here. It goes left, right, left, and then they work their way through NASCAR 3 and 4 and up to one more chicane that takes you to the checkered flag, or in the case of what we're about to see right now, we'll be taking these drivers to the green flag with Rubelar and Modoff on the front row.
And that's going to be the real battle there. I think we've had a little bit of a checkup there in the back. Some drivers not happy over the radio. But here we go. This is the battle. Now, in terms of the championship, all Rubelar needs to do to lock it down is finish ahead of Carl Modoff. Modoff, he's got to finish ahead of Rubelar and hope for some help along the way.
Yeah, and Rubala should be able to pull away from Modov, I would imagine, at the start of the race here, because he'll basically get to control when the race starts. As they go through the first chicane, he's already on the loud pedal, and they're actually already single file before the chicane. So here we go for the season finale. Rubala leads away Modov, but Modov is already going to try and challenge into the first corner. Didn't have enough racetrack though.
No, he didn't. And in the back, they were very side by side going down into the heartburn turn, but everybody's starting to be a little bit calmer as they get going. Up front, it continues to be Rubelar pulling out about an advantage of 0.4 of a second. Some good racing in the back there. I see Jesse Stevens being very aggressive in that BMW.
Yeah, so one driver getting out into the grass there, exiting that long arcing right-hander. So now they work their way through the infield, providing no one messes it up. It kind of flows together quite well. But now they come onto the banking, and here's where we might see some people try and set up a pass into the inner loop style chicane on the back straight.
Yeah, this is where that draft is really going to come into play. You see there Modov trying to tuck up behind Rubelar, and this is a little bit where the setup may come in. We may see some drivers that are really trimmed out to try to take advantage of the oval portions of the track as they fly their way through the bus stop. Looks like everybody's through cleanly at this point. No major problems at the moment. But as of first blush, it doesn't quite look like Rubelar's got the straight line speed to catch, rather, that it doesn't look like Modov has the straight line speed to catch Rubelar right off the bat. But it could be a little bit of strategy, could be a little bit of lifting, could be a lot of things early in this race.
Yeah, also they're all still getting the tyres up to temperature. A lap goes by quite quickly here, just 1 minute 15 seconds. Once again into this long right-hander, using as much racetrack as they can on the exit. I've raced a little bit of this track in a Legends car in real life, and I'll tell you that curve that they go on the exit of a turn there, it's not always soft. It definitely can upset your car sometimes.
For sure, Sam, and in these cars in particular, you know, they do have some pretty flexible suspensions. They're able to take a good lick, but just with how high these curves are, it's not going to damage the suspension necessarily, but what it will do is it'll unsettle the car. And if you are, for example, flat out going over that curving, it can really cause the rear end to step out on you, especially for these front two machines. The Lamborghini and the Porsche, both known for having a little bit of a slippery rear end, so drivers are going to have to be careful in that machinery.
Now, Modov is definitely not letting Rubelar go, but he's not within striking range as they enter the first corner here. Again, just like at Phillip Island, these drivers will have to have a pit stop at some point during the race, and Rubelar setting the fastest lap of the race, but Modov not too far behind him.
No, and unless I'm crazy, I believe Modov has picked up 2 off tracks on the previous laps, as he is not having a fastest lap recorded thus far. So that's something he's going to have to keep an eye on. Remember, 13 incident points will get you a drive-through, and you can bet your bottom dollar that if he gets a drive-through, that will end his championship hopes.
Yeah, I got to imagine the drivers at this level, though, being in the Pro Series, are aware of how many incident points they get. And, you know, sometimes you do have to take an incident point. When you're racing competitively, you might take the risk. Okay, I've got some incident points to spare. I'm going to put my wheels off here, you know, so that I can save myself a 1/10 of a second. It's worth that extra incident point. Maybe we'll see a little bit less of that as the race goes on and the field gets spread out a little bit.
Yeah, I agree with you, Sam. Definitely later in the race, that's kind of where my mentality would be, but I'd be a little bit worried about spending those incidents in the first 2 laps. They can really start to accumulate on you very, very quickly, and before you know it, you're having to think about incident points rather than trying to drive the fastest lap, and so it's just a little bit concerning. Modov does it again. He's got 3 at this point.
Modov still not too far. This is obviously an easy place to pick off an incident point there by getting off on the grass too far on the exit. But it's nice seeing everyone clean at the start here. The entire field of 19 cars covered by 15 seconds after 3 laps in the books.
Indeed, this is the battle, though, for P9. that we are keeping an eye on a little bit. This is Dave Menino trying to close in a little bit on J.R. Williams. J.R. Williams, in turn, trying to close in on Diego Morales up ahead of him. But Menino, DeTulio, and Raditz all trying to play a little bit of fun here.
Yeah, and let's not forget that Menino is not too far behind DeTulio for fourth in the points as the McLaren gets quite close to the wall there. But he would need to pull out a few extra positions. Oh, here we go. We might be about to see our first pass of the race.
Indeed, there it is. DeTulio trying to take it around the outside. There he is. He's going to have to be later on the brakes. Menino giving him a little bit of space there. And woo, better run for Alessandro DeTulio taking off there. It's been good to see him make the transition here into GT machinery. We're so used to seeing him in the open wheelers, and he's really, he's not been on the top of the field like we were used to seeing him last season out in the Indy Pro 2000s, but he has put in some exemplary drives over the course of this year.
Yeah, there really hasn't been a whole lot of shuffling of the order in the opening laps here. DeTulio is the biggest move in the field. He has gone up from 14th to 10th position, so he's picked off 4 spots. But right now, everyone just minding their P's and Q's in the opening laps of a race. And I can tell you, Rubilar's actually opened up a little bit of a gap up front.
Yeah, he has. On the last lap, it looked like that Karl Modoff was able to bring that gap down coming out of the bus stop. But Rubilar able to extend it as they cross the timing and scoring line. Continue to watch here. That's DeTulio. Now, that's all legal there. That's not an off track for any driver going over that painted area. That is considered on track. Focusing back on our leaders, though. There you see it. Yeah, it looks like Modoff is just losing a little bit of time every time they run through those final 2 corners.
I was just thinking about the grip levels that paint provides and thinking how interesting this racetrack is going to become once iRacing gets rain, which we believe is coming in the not too distant future. Will make things very interesting all the way around this circuit, that's for sure. Well, already we're approaching closely the 10-minute mark and knocking off a quarter of this race. And right now it's proving to be hard to pass for a lot of these drivers, or they're just not willing to pass each other. And that means anyone who had a disappointing qualifying session might want to start thinking of answers, as Modoff got a very bad exit there going up onto the oval and has lost a lot of time to Rubilar.
Yeah, he has, to the tune of about a full second there, but we're going to ride on board with Gonzalo Cortez as he tries to chase down Horacio Calquin in front of him. That gap is only about a half a second here. Heavy braking down into the bus stop, and that is Calquin, who now has Modoff clearly in his sights. So now we may be able to see if perhaps Carl's just a little bit off speed here. Something going wrong with that car. The one other thing to consider, remember, Modoff is the master at saving fuel. Maybe he is just trying to keep that Porsche a little bit light, but here comes Calquin down into the first corner.
Oh, and there's contact, and that's going to spin Modoff around, and he backs into the wall. That's going to damage the rear end, and that's going to end the championship. Nicolas Rubilar is going to win your GT Pro Championship.
More than likely, yes. You see just again how much of that curbing Modoff was taking almost up into the wall. Calquin saw his opportunity. It's a bit of a racing incident there, Sam, I have to say. Is damage between the two on that contact. I think that was a little bit of a turn in from Modoff and a little bit of a run wide there for Calquin.
Yeah, well, Modoff, I mean, that wasn't saving fuel going through the chicane. That was him getting his line on, and he knew, I'm sure, that he needed to hold on to second place, as you know, for all it was worth, in order to have a chance at beating Rubilar in the long run and taking this championship, and he just wasn't willing to accept that he was going to lose that second place. Now, I'm sure he'll look at it and say, hey, maybe I should have gotten a little bit of a break there. I still had a right to the corner. We'll find out what he has to say later on about that, but whatever he has to say, he's out of a race now, or at least definitely out of contention for the win. Now, to your point, it doesn't necessarily mean the championship is over. Rubilar could run into issues later on, but right now things are definitely looking in favor of the number 77 car, as he has 3 seconds over the rest of the field.
Yeah, indeed. And with Modoff, I'm getting word Modoff has disconnected from the session. So that is championship over. Nicholas Rubelar will be your GT3 Pro Champion here this season for the Precision Racing League.
10 minutes into the race and Diego Morales comes into the pits, and I think it may have been a scheduled pit stop, and that makes sense. Honestly, you're really not on the loud pedal for a massive amount of time around here. You're never really getting up to high speed, so I should imagine they're getting semi-decent fuel mileage and they're able to go half an hour on the tank of fuel.
Yeah, for sure. Fuel tanks are limited in this series, so if they were running out normally with no regulations, they would be able to make it regardless. But even with that limited tank, he should be able to make it at about 30. We've seen drivers stretch it all the way down to maybe 10 minutes to go left in the session. So I think just a bit of a gamble there for Morales. He was getting a little bit held up and decided to go for that. We focus here. This is the battle of the BMWs a little bit, with Cal Quinn leading Cortez and Wagner.
Yeah, we got this battle going on. We've also got the battle for 5th place going on. Connor Bell having a lot of pressure from behind him with Jesse Stevens. You might be able to get a glimpse of that at the back of your frame there. They're all close together as they work their way down the back straight. In fact, I think we might want to go to that one right now, because Stevens is looking quite a bit impatient behind Connor Bell.
Yes, he is. Jesse Stevens has been one of the drivers I have enjoyed most watching this season. A very aggressive driver, willing to take those chances to try to go for the overtake. Always exciting to keep an eye on. And that white, blue, and black livery in the BMW, always pretty easy to spot. He's sandwiched, though, right now between Delta Sport teammates, in between Connor Bell and Alessandro DiTullio. DiTullio looked like he got a pretty good run, but whoa! Very late on the brakes there was Jesse Stevens. He was very lucky he didn't end up with a face full of Porsche.
Yeah, that's going to cost him on the exit there, though. Yeah, I felt for sure he was going into the back of Connor Bell's rear wing. Now, Stevens doesn't have a lot of speed on the exit, and DiTullio might try and think about making something happen on the inside. DiTullio, again, is one of our biggest movers. He's gone from 14th to 7th. He wouldn't mind picking off a couple more positions.
No, he would not, and he certainly got the speed, I think, over Jesse, but didn't want to risk anything this early in the race diving down on him. So Jesse now is going to be able to regroup a little bit, try to keep his eyes focused on Connor Bell. And while this squabbling has been going on, they're letting a big gap build about 5 seconds up the road to Connor Wagner in that battle for 3rd we were watching earlier.
Yeah, the battle for 2nd, 3rd, and 4th between Calkin, Cortez, and Wagner are all nose to tail. So got a couple of nice little battles up front here, and towards the back, we've got 4 guys scrapping 4 positions over here. So just like what we saw at Phillip Island, we got the winner, kind of, well, potential winner in Nicholas Rubelar running away with it, and then a great bunch of battles going on throughout the middle of the field.
Yeah, exactly, and that was Christian Raditz being able to get a move on Ignacio Fredes. Fredes thought about trying to hang it around the outside going into the bus stop, but it's not gonna work for him. You see, looking out the back of that Lamborghini, just how much punishment the suspensions take around here. Now, I wonder a little bit, Fredes looked like he may not have gotten the best run, but whoa, there it comes with a little bit of speed. Behind them, I think that's James David taking a look at David Holland. Is he gonna have a move going down into the final corner? Oh, Holland off onto the grass, but able to keep it under him. That was an impressive bit of car control.
I'm trying to remember how much of that is grass and how much of that is AstroTurf, which you can get away with abusing a little bit around here.
Your guess is as good as mine on that one, Sam. Being on the West Coast, I haven't had the pleasure of coming out to the Roval yet, so you've driven it, you tell me.
Yeah, well, I know for sure the infield is grass because I went through it. But I can't remember every bit of the track. Cortez in 3rd place has Wagner all over the back of him as they head into the braking zone in the inner loop. Of course, they're still all close to Calkin. I wonder if these drivers are just content to ride like this right now.
I think they might be. I mean, you mentioned the fact that there's not a whole lot of time on the loud pedal around here, but at the same time, you can save a pretty decent amount of fuel coming around the high banks here at Charlotte. So they may just be trying to extend that fuel stint out a little bit more.
Yeah, it definitely looks like the drivers from 5th to 6th or 7th or so, that battle we're watching there, are a bit more impatient than these drivers in 2nd, 3rd and 4th. These three are just going around minding their own P's and Q's right now. I think they know that they're going to have to hope that Rubala runs into some lap traffic or something to kind of get held up. And then we've got a nice battle further back down the field here. This is 14th place, I believe, between Janest and Lowendick.
Yeah, riding on board with Teddy here, doing one of my favorite things that you see sim drivers doing, just leaning their head through the corners a little bit. It's almost as if they're feeling the G-force. Good run wide there for Teddy. Once again, that's within track limits what he's doing. So he's able to get it back. Tries to go around here. So tricky. You see how much he's having to fight the wheel coming over the crest of that hill. The car just wants to break away from you coming around that. Come through here, clip that as best as possible, and a good run for Teddy coming out of the corner. And he'll just tuck back into the draft of Janae and see what he can do here.
Already approaching the halfway point of this race. Again, really our biggest mover so far has been Alessandro Di Tullio, 14th to 7th. The driver who has gone in the wrong direction of note, obviously, is Cole Modoff, who started 2nd and is now out of a race. But I wonder how many of these drivers are just waiting till that pit stop to try and strike and gain a couple positions. We think these drivers might be able to get another 15 minutes before they take fuel. That was a lot of curb that Teddy was taking there on the front straight.
Yeah, it was definitely punishing the front shocks of that BMW. But speaking of BMW, as we come back here to P2 and 3, this is Cal Quinn and Cortez. Cortez doing a good job of staying in the tire tracks of Horatio here, holding it down to under about 0.7 of a second as they work their way back up onto the high banks of Charlotte. Not quite close enough to make a full attack here. He's definitely trying to fill those rear view mirrors of Horatio Cal Quinn.
Keeping an eye also on the battle not too far behind us for 5th on back. It looks like those guys are going to stay single file this time around. As again, we approach on that midpoint of a race mark. I don't think pit road will get too busy at the halfway point though. Although as I say that, I see one car in the pits.
Indeed, that's Connor Wagner deciding to split this race up just about evenly. So that Porsche is going to be coming down. He, along with Diego Morales, are our only scheduled stoppers here at this point. Have to see what he's able to do when he comes back out of the pits. Cortez, meanwhile, able to get that gap down a little bit, about 0.5 of a second as they get their way over the hill in that infield section.
Ignacio Fredes has been dropping down the order. He had, we got the battle for 5th place here, but I just want to update Fredes. He had a single car incident last lap and has slowly brought his car back into the pits. Oh, and we might have more incidents here. There's a bit of bumper-to-bumper action there.
Yeah, that was Di Tullio getting very up wide and Dave Menino taking advantage of it, but Di Tullio trying to fight back here. Wow, aggressive, almost coming back down under the blue stripe. They're going to go side by side down into the bus stop. It's the latest of the late breakers for Alessandro Di Tullio. Takes a big chunk of curb, but that's going to compromise his exit. Menino senses a little blood in the water. He's going to try around the outside.
Yeah, this is a bit more like the kind of racing that I anticipated we would see here at the Charlotte Roval. So Di Tullio's been able to hold on to the position. He's gone from 14th to 6th now, but now all of a sudden he's starting to be pressured from behind with Menino and J.R. Williams behind him in 7th and 8th place. And Di Tullio actually puts it in the wall on entry of turn 1. Normally the exit is where you where we see those kind of incidents happen. So a lot going on here for 6th, 7th and 8th, allowing the cars in front of them to break away a bit.
Indeed, Sam, and I gotta say, it was a little bit surprising how much speed Di Tullio was able to go. It almost looked like he pulled a gap over Dave Menino, and I think that was because Dave checked up. But there you can see a lot of speed from that McLaren coming over the hill. Loses a little bit as they come out of the braking zone. Now let's see if he can keep it gathered up under him. Again, very wide there for Di Tullio, but that may help him as he maximizes speed. That Porsche is pretty quick in a straight line, so let's see what Dave can do as they get going going here. It looks like his teammate J.R. Williams may have a little bit of a thought into the bus stop.
Our second place is battling now. I think Horatio Calquin didn't get through the inner loop very well on the back straight, and now you see Cortez is all over the back of him as they head into the final chicane.
Yes, they are. That was a big chunk of curb there for Horatio Calquin. Cortez not quite close enough to make it down into the heartburn turn, but he's going to continue to apply that pressure. Great paint scheme, by the way, on Gonzalo Cortez. I love the sort of adaptation of the traditional BMW colors there on the car. Brings it wide. I think that was a little bit of a wide entry there, or exit there out of turn 3 for Cortez, but he's able to stay nice and close behind Calquin and keep that pressure up.
The battle for around 6th place has died down in intensity a tiny bit as David Meneno brought it into the pits. So we'll see how that pans out for him in the long run. So actually seeing more cars pit at the halfway point than I anticipated.
Yeah, I think some of these drivers just may be gambling on the fact that running in a little bit of clean air will be helpful for them as they go along. Cortez getting a good run. He's going to dive down to the inside of the bus stop. Is he going to try to outbrake him? No, he's not. He's going to fall back into line. Does that compromise Calquin at all on the exit, or does that compromise Cortez? It may have cost Cortez a 10th.
We're riding on board in that battle for 4th place, back up to the battle for 2nd here, with Calquin leading Cortez over halfway through the event now. So I've always told myself whenever I enter a race here on iRacing DJ, this is not a track where you can go 100% the entire race distance. You'll most likely end up in an incident. But it does seem that these guys have realized that now's the time to go for it. So they might have been running at 95% for the first third of this race, but now it looks like we are seeing some drivers give it 100%, trying to make it happen in the critical middle stages.
For sure, Sam. It's very much one of those tracks you've got to really be thinking through every corner and know when you want to push. And I think the reason we're seeing a little bit more of that aggression coming out is because we are closing down on that pit stop cycle. Drivers are going to start thinking about coming into the pits, and you want to put in those hot laps before you come in to maybe pull off a jump in the pits if possible.
Watching our race leader, Nicholas Rublar, see if he goes by pit entry, which he does. Not too surprising there, obviously, with the lead that he has. And honestly, not a whole lot of lap traffic. We've had a few drivers fall by the wayside, but those drivers still out there are keeping up their pace, and the leaders haven't really had to worry about any lap traffic so far.
No, they haven't, but it does look like Nicholas Rublar will be coming across his old foe of Karl Modov, who is back out on track. He's the first one up that he'll have to deal with.
Yeah, Modov. Well, here's the thing. Surely after a certain point we're going to hit... I mean, I know this is hypothetical anyway, but... at some point, we will hit a point in a race where if Rublar were to lose a connection or anything, he wouldn't fall far back enough for Modov to be able to pass him. In other words, I'm pretty sure the championship is done and dusted, but still, Modov's out there just in case.
Yeah, exactly. That's what he's out there pushing for, the best that he
Holland! David Holland just tank slapped the wall. He keeps going, but got a lot of damage on his number 18 machine. So this just goes to prove, DJ, that there's no part of a circuit where you're really out of danger.
No, there isn't. Oh, I think he may have caught a little bit of that inside grass. That's a big slap to the outside for David Holland. Hopefully that car is not too damaged, but that right rear wing definitely showing a little bit of wear and tear for the Delta Sport Raptor driver.
Yeah, and he's coming in now, up to the pits right now, and sure enough, he's going to bring it in to get that repaired.
I think that's a good call. So he will be our highest pitter at this point. Diego Morales, our earliest pitter, is the one who is out in the lead of everybody else, currently in 11th right now. Focusing back in on that battle for P2, though, Cortez keeping up that pressure on the 666 of Calquin.
So we're approaching 15 minutes left to go in this race. And this is the battle for second once again, waiting to see if one of these two drivers will blink. Again, I think Rubula will stay out as long as he possibly can, especially while he doesn't have traffic directly in front of him. And sure enough, he's already gone by pit entry. And that shows you the lead that he has, as our battle for second is only going by pit entry now.
Indeed it is. So everybody choosing to stay out here, not exactly surprising, as we talked about, just trying to keep it on Cortez. I wouldn't be surprised if we see him maybe be able to eke out one more lap over Calquin if he's been smart with that right foot.
So Holland has not opted for repairs. He has pulled it out of a race. Another driver to drop out. Got a couple of them, actually. We mentioned Fredez and Wagner, Modoff, and Ferradronio. I apologize for butchering that last name, DJ. But they've all pulled out early here.
Yeah, indeed, they have. But battles here are just looking like they're kind of calming down for the moment. I think drivers had that little bit of mid-race adrenaline push, and now they're starting to be a little bit calmer.
Yeah, so Rubula is catching Modoff now, as he mentioned he would be. I wonder if that's going to be an incentive for him to say, no, I don't want to deal with him right now. No, he's going around another lap. He'll catch Modoff, maybe. Obviously, Modoff will be carrying a bit of damage on his car after the earlier incident. The battle for second continues to go by the pits, and this pit road has gotten quiet now. It got very busy at the middle of a race with a lot of drivers splitting it halfway, but now it's gotten quiet. Everyone out on track looks to be going as deep as their fuel tank will take them.
Exactly, but a battle that hasn't exactly gotten as quiet as we thought. This is Jesse Stevens and Alessandro Di Tullio. Remember, they were going at it tooth and nail a little bit earlier in the race. Di Tullio now starting to put the pressure back on to the pure Sims esports driver. Running it as wide as they can out of turn 4 before starting to go over the hill. I am glad that Alessandro, at least I hope, he doesn't have a motion rig, because that is going to hurt his tailbone if it did.
It'll be interesting to know if he has one of those ButtKickers that help present this broadcast, because those would certainly let you know that you've gone over a curb a little bit too hard. Into the braking zone once again for the inner loop. Left, right. Now you're on the gas pedal and you cut all that red paint. If you go down on the white paint, you're really going down too far.
Yeah, they'll kind of ding you for that every once in a while, and they'll look not exactly well upon it. Driving down here into that final corner. A lot of good pressure there from, from Di Tullio, but again, a lot of curb there from him. So just trying to push as hard as he can.
"13 cars left on the lead lap as we approach the final stages of this championship, which it looks like is going to go to Rubula, who's on track for his 6th win out of 10 races so far this season. As opposed to that, Modoff has mainly gotten his championship position through consistency. He's only taken 2 wins to Rubula's 5 up to this point. But obviously consistent finishes have kept him right there in the championship battle, at least all the way until the end here at the Charlotte Roval, where it looks like Rubula is going to have a massive points lead when it's all said and done. That wouldn't really accurately indicate how close this championship was.
Yeah, indeed. And remember, I mentioned this in the last series, as Nicholas Rublar, just for good measure, sets the fastest lap of the race. But we've got a pitter, Gonzalo Cortez, choosing to come down pit lane.
Yep, so here we go. The drivers who have elected to go along, they're starting to see some of them coming to the pits, and it wouldn't surprise me if this is a bit of a strategic call by Cortez to come in a lap or 2 earlier than he could have, to try and maybe make some kind of undercut happen.
Yeah, I think that may be a good call. Maybe just hope he gets himself out in a little bit of clean air, run a good lap here as he does it. As we watch there, that is the Mercedes of Diego Morales coming out and around. Is Morales going to be able to maybe get close to him here? Oh, I'm sorry, that was Morales going the other way. Never mind.
Yeah, Cortez has some nice clean racetrack here, so this is obviously going to help him in terms of the undercut. What won't help him is the fact that his car will sit and still for a few seconds and his tyres will have cooled, so his tyres won't necessarily be faster than those of Kalkin, but maybe if he thinks he can drive faster without Kalkin in front of him, he can use this clean track to his advantage.
He very well may. He'll lose a little bit of the draft, obviously, around the high banks here. But if he's able to put in a good hot lap or two and maybe able to catch back up on him, that'll really help. And here comes Cal Quinn responding. Cal Quinn down pit lane.
Yeah, got another car coming in not too far behind him, but Kalkin as a driver will want to keep an eye on because of this battle for second place with Cortez. As 666 works his way towards his pit box. It should be a very short pit stop, of course, just simply a splash of fuel. Cortez working his way through the final chicane. Right, left, and across the start-finish line, and Kalkin's rolling.
This is gonna be close. Cortez coming up to full speed around the Heartburn turn right now, over the crest of the hill, and there it is. Cal Quinn able to keep him at bay.
Yeah, now if there's any advantage here to Cortez, of course, it's the fact that Kalkin's car was stopped about 20 seconds ago, so his tyres might be a little bit cold, and maybe he can use that to his advantage to run them down for the next couple of corners. But I definitely think this is not what Cortez wanted to see. Kalkin ahead of him, and in fact has actually increased the gap a bit.
Indeed, and speaking of increasing the gap, Nicholas Rubelar now the latest to take a venture down pit lane. So your leader coming into the pits, we'll have to keep an eye on Jesse Stevens and Alessandro DiTullio to see if they do the same.
Yep, Stevens is coming in, and DiTullio is as well, I believe.
Yeah, so Sam, I think this is the end of the fuel window for all drivers, as yes, I see Christian Raditz coming in as well, and I'm not going to be surprised if we see the 11th place Teddy Lowendick coming in as well to finish out all drivers making their scheduled pit stops.
And there you see Rubelar's already rolled back out onto the racetrack, so quick splash for him. Only a few laps left to go, separating him from his 6th win of the season and the championship. Here's a nice little battle between Bell and Morales, working their way through the infield.
And I want to give some massive credit here to Diego Morales. Now remember, he came in and did the short stop early. Morales came in on lap 8 of this race, and he's found himself able to jump back up here and is putting some major pressure onto Connor Bell for 4th place right now. Cagey move from the SimMSA esports driver.
Yeah, it's definitely a strategy that can work out if you know exactly how much fuel you need. And here goes Morales looking for 4th place underneath Chris Bell, and he's gonna get alongside. He doesn't have a desired line though, and Bell parks his car kind of at the apex there. He has the words "get stuck" on his rear wing, and right now that's where Morales is.
Well, he's stuck, and there, I'd say, along as planting that car on the apex, he also planted that car into the door a little bit of that Mercedes, getting a little bit feisty. We'll have to see if that's going to raise Diego's blood pressure here. Maybe he's going to have to be a little bit more aggressive with the Porsche of Connor Bell, but they've got to be careful. Jesse Stevens only 2 seconds back, now a 1.5 seconds. These two continue to squabble. Rest assured, Stevens will not only catch up, but we've seen that BMW make some very feisty moves over the course of the season. And we may have another one in store.
Oh, that was a much nicer apex by Morales as they entered onto the back straight, if you can call it a back straight there. It doesn't last that long, but it's a bit of a longer burst than what a lot of these straights are around the circuit. And now they're about to work their way back up onto the oval section in this battle for 4th and 5th, not missing anything for 2nd or 3rd. It looks like Cortez made a mistake last lap around that cost him a bit of time to Kalkin, but we'll keep an eye on that because that battle could definitely still be on in the closing laps. 4th and 5th break up temporarily. Bell and Morales. Stevens watching on from 6th, not too far behind.
No, it looked like there that Morales got a little bit of a worse run coming up onto the oval section of the track. Maybe just a little bit of wheel spin. The car swung up wide a little bit more, and the gap is now expanded up to about 0.6 seconds. So he's going to have to wheel it pretty hard here, and taking a lot of that grass as he does it. And a lot of that curbing, that Mercedes fully up onto two wheels as they cross over the timing and scoring line.
Yeah, and while this battle's broke up a little bit, let's go back to 9th place. Trey R. Williams, Christian Badaz, and James David all on top of each other for 9th, 10th, and 11th place. So another great scrap going on in the closing minutes of this event.
Yeah, very much so, and a kind of lovely to see here. This is a Porsche Lamborghini and a Porsche fighting it out. Raditz there trying to put a little bit of pressure on JR Williams, with James David also putting it in behind. So this is going to be very fun. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm going to be very interested to see when they get onto the straightaways. These are considered to be two of the cars fastest in a straight line, so maybe that'll cancel each other out, but very close here exiting the infield.
Yeah, the battle's up front and broken up just a bit temporarily, so let's stick with these guys as they work their way down the back straight and see what happens in the inner loop this time around. I keep calling it inner loop, it's really not, but it's just what it reminds me of. 9th, 10th, 11th holding station. For now they do, but obviously there's a good passing zone entering the finals chicane too.
There is indeed, and David looked like he got a little bit squirrely in the middle of a NASCAR 1 there. That car just kind of moving up and down on the blue and white line. But he was able to close up a whole lot during braking. Lost a little bit here. Everybody going in. David taking a little bit of a wider entrance there into turn 16, but still took a lot of curb into 17. Here comes Raditz down the inside into the heartburn turn. Can he make it work? Yes, he can.
A nice move there, and this battle isn't over yet, although they get single file now. But let's go back up to 4th place, because Morales has ran Bell back down. He's all over the back of him. They're about to go onto the back straight, and now here comes a couple of opportunities for Morales to try and make a pass.
Indeed, just sticking in the tire tracks here of Connor Bell, starting to think about drifting to the outside a little bit, try to carry that momentum there for Morales, and he's maybe not gonna have it there. No, they're gonna be close, diving down into the bus stop. Can he get a better jump here off of the line for Morales? No, it looks like Bell's able to hold him at bay for the moment.
Battle for 6th place too between Jesse Stevens and Dave Meneno. Meneno is passing him on the low side here. Stevens has not got a good exit at all. In fact, he seems to be a little bit off the pace.
Yeah, something maybe a little bit wrong there with Jesse Stevens. I wonder if he underfueled the car or something of that nature. And Sam, that battle we were keeping an eye on before, JR Williams dropping down another position as James David able to get by him. And that was Alessandro DiTullio also getting by Jesse Stevens. So Stevens falling like a rock here.
Yeah, and for any drivers who've short fuel, there's a bit of bad news for them. 3 laps around here is 3 minutes and 45 seconds. Nicholas Rubelar crossed the start-finish line with 3 minutes and 50 seconds to go. If he doesn't back off to try and stop there from being an extra lap, there may be an extra lap more than what some of these drivers anticipated.
When I was just looking at some pit stop numbers, and indeed, Jesse Stevens does look like he underfueled comparatively to the rest of the field. About the average that I'm seeing here is about 8.5 seconds. Jesse Stevens took 7.8 seconds of fuel.
So Nicholas Rubelar again just crossed the line with about 2 minutes 35, 2 minutes 36 seconds to go to be exact. So he will come across the line next time with 1 minute 20 seconds left on the clock. That means we'll have 2 laps left to go. If he wanted to be friendly to drivers who don't have enough fuel, he could back off 10 seconds, still lead this race and make it the final lap. But he's not obligated to do that.
Indeed, but we got to go to the battle because Morales has gotten by Bell there on a very aggressive move through the infield. Let's go back and check out this replay.
Yeah, here we go. At this point, you could forgive us for not thinking he was going to make a move. He was quite a little ways back, but now he pulls right up to the bumper, goes right up towards the wall, gets on the inside and makes a nice move. So that's the first pass we've seen there today, and Morales pulled it off beautifully.
Really did, and that was about 5 millimeters away from being a full bump and run a la this NASCAR circuit, but a great move from Morales. Gonna go check in on our leader. Nicholas Rubelar crosses the line, as you said there, Sam. 1:19 to go, so that's 2 to go for the rest of this field.
Yep, so I hope everyone took enough fuel for that. Calquin and Cortez still in second and third position, only separated by a second. But to be honest, Cortez hasn't really been making any inroads on Calquin.
Well, he really hasn't. This has pretty much stayed the same from what we've seen. I don't know if he's going to be able to really move off that far, but we'll have to see.
Yeah, in fact, pretty much every battle has resolved itself in the last 5 minutes. There's not a whole lot of drivers racing on top of each other right now. Except for right here.
Indeed, that's Jesse Stevens, I believe, trying to hold off James David behind him. Now, remember, Stevens was as high as 5th place. Oh, Morales has had it off. Morales has gone off, and that will give the position back to Connor Bell, and Dave Menino gets by as well.
Yeah, so Morales has it all to do. We've already seen him make some... Look how much of a gap he had pulled out. Just a bit too much brake there. Probably had a bit too much rear brake dialed in. Oh, it damages the back of a car too. That could upset his rear wing. Final lap for Rubala.
He's taking the white flag here in a commanding victory, withstanding some early pressure from Karl Modoff, and then just absolutely flying away here to a 14-second advantage to take not only the win here today at Charlotte, but in just a couple of corners more, it will be the championship for Nicholas Rubilar and that Lamborghini that's looking very twitchy late in this race.
Jesse Stevens is backing off again. He's dropped back to 10th place. The battle for second looks like it's heating up on the final lap, as is the battle for fourth. Menino was just taking a look on Connor Bell entering turn 1, but wasn't able to get by him.
And this is that battle for P2. This is Cortez again trying to get by Calquin the best he can. He's been able to close that gap down a little bit, if at all possible. Oh, and it looks like Connor Bell let Menino by.
Well, we'll see how that unfolds. But right now, Rubala is working his way through the final couple of corners to win the race and win the championship in the number 77 machine. He had to hold off his championship rival in the opening laps. He's going very slowly. He can afford to do that. Showboat a little bit in front of the fans. Wave at them. Crosses the line. Your race winner here and champion, Nicholas Rubala. Let's go back to second.
In second, there almost looked like there was going to be a late lap maneuver there for Gonzalo Cortez, but it all came to naught. He'll come home third with Horatio Calquin in second. Connor Bell working his way around right.
No, he's not. He had a big slide. Connor Bell had a massive slide in the inner loop, lost all kinds of momentum, and is down to 6th.
Oh, my goodness gracious, and that's going to be Dave Menino and the McLaren coming home to take P4.
DeTulio's out of the field. DeTulio from 7th place is coasting to the line. I think DeTulio's going to drop all. He's in neutral there. He's back in 9th place and almost loses that to Jesse Stevens.
Oh, well, Sam, you called it. That extra lap there for Nicholas Rubilar really coming out to catch out a couple of drivers there with DeTulio and Stevens. We suspect having problems. I think Connor Bell also having some fuel problems as Diego Morales was able to get by him at the line as well.
Well, what an exciting finish here to an exciting championship. We'll be back in a few moments to give you the full finishing order and catch up with a few of those drivers. Don't go away. Hello and welcome back to the Charlotte Roval. Well, we told you we'd see a chaotic race. It was a little bit processional earlier on, but boy, things really kicked off in the closing laps there. But I'll tell you what, it was kind of calm and peaceful if you were Nicholas Rubelar. He wins by 11 seconds after all that. But then look at the intervals on the rest of the drivers in the top 10. So some of them a bit spread out, but everyone had someone to battle in the closing laps there. Horatio Calquin and Gonzalo Cortez for second and third. Dave Menino holds on for fourth place, and then three cars covered by 2 seconds. Diego Morales, Connor Bell and James David down to seventh place. Not too far behind them was Trey R. Williams in eighth, and Alessandro Di Tullio out of fuel in ninth, and Jesse Stevens was also on fumes in 10th.
Christian Raditz made some good moves mid-race to come home in 11th, followed by Arnaud Genet and Ted Lowendick, the last driver to finish on a lead lap. Philippe Magnon was a lap down in 14th, with the story of the race, frankly, being Karl Modoff, who had that incident early on and lost a lot of time there, coming home 15th and losing out on the championship to Nicholas Rubelar.
Yeah, our winner isn't here to talk to us right now, but we have caught up with Arnaud Drenest. And Arnaud, you finished on the lead lap in 12th place. All got a little bit crazy there in the closing stages of the event. How was it for you?
Oh man, the Porsche was a nightmare on this track. I don't know what happened on the setup, but or the car, but yeah, it was really tough just to keep the car on the track this week. To be honest, I'm sure you guys notice it when you have like those fast cars and fast guys as David Holland or GR Williams that they used to be in front of the field, and today was just awful. So yeah, the mission today was just to bring back the car. It was the last race of the season, so we just wanted to have a blast for the team and for the whole field, not to crash. Unfortunately, I did hit Teddy for that, and I was sore, and I'm sorry. That's why I let him by. But yeah, in the end, great fun, and congrats on Nicholas for the championship.
It was definitely a bit of a wild race, but also an exciting season to watch as a whole. How do you think your season went as a whole, and what are your goals for next season if you'll be back?
I'll definitely be back. To be honest, this season it was a bit of a challenge since there was like new guys. All the guys from Delta Sport wasn't there last season, and I was a bit upper in the field. With those fast guys, I just dropped back a little bit. So I just hope that the Lamborghini will suit me better on next season, and hope for the best. But yeah, as soon as we have great racing, I'm having a blast. So I don't need to finish up front to have fun. But yeah, it's been a real pleasure to drive with those fast guys, and yeah, had a blast.
Well, we appreciate you coming to talk to us. DJ, anything you'd like to ask Arnaud?
Well, Arnaud, I believe the schedules are at least in the process of being released for next season. So anything you're particularly looking forward to or really hoping to see on that schedule as you get ready to climb back in this GT?
I love a lot of tracks. Let's say that Charlotte, I had my it was enough for Charlotte, so I hope that the Roval doesn't make it the cut to next season. But I do love like those road tracks, just like we had in Long Beach. I think those tracks suits the car well as well, and puts on a good show. So if we could have like the Chicago track, that would be very cool. And hoping like those fast guys will join up to raise up the expectations and the show for next season.
All right. Well, thanks for coming to talk to us, Arnaud. We wish you the best off season, and look forward to seeing you back.
All right. Thank you, guys. Hope to see you soon next season.
All right, and that was Arnaud Genet, your 12th place finisher here today in the GT3 Pro race here at the Charlotte Roval course. Just to recap, you witnessed the final round of the GT4 AM Championship, where Campbell won the championship after winning 7 races early in the season. Your race winner over there today was Kyle Robertson, and here we just wrapped things up in GT Pro with the championship battle between Nicolas Rubelar, your race winner and champion, and Carl Modoff, who got involved in an incident early on while running in second position after making a mistake through the chicane. And we appreciate everyone for who helps make these broadcasts possible, including, of course, our sponsors for this league. That includes ASR, who design and build the sturdiest and most durable aluminum profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. You can visit them at advancedsimracing.com. RaceLab, that helps you to improve your driving skills. Start using it now for free at racelab.app. ButtKicker, feel what you've been missing at thebuttkicker.com. SimMSA, find out how you can bridge the gap between virtual and real motorsports at simsa.net. And Ninja Trader, and you can visit ninjatrader.com and get started with a risk-free trading simulator to start tracking your performance. We would like to thank all of the organisers and the competitors in the Premier Racing League for coming out all season long and putting on some terrific shows for us. Additional thanks goes out to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcasts that you can see listed on your screen. Additional thanks to June Lalonde, who provides us with our music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of her great work. Thanks to the team today, DJ, Sean and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. Or you can check us out on Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at facebook.com/globalsimracingchannel, and Instagram at GSRC_gram. All of our upcoming races for our other series are listed on screen, so be sure to check those out, mark them down on your calendar, and don't miss another second of exciting racing action. Our next race for this season, we don't know where they'll be, but we can tell you it will take place on September 20th. The races will be at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time, I believe, in the United States for the Miatas. That'll be interesting. And 9:30 p.m. for the GT3 cars. But until then, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.